What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Deep Dig Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew, with my other host right over there.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. Go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and if you're listening to this on audio, follow. If you're watching on YouTube, we have an audio version. If you're listening on audio, we have a YouTube version. Check us out everywhere.
We want to talk about one guy that's been kind of the one guy dominating the headlines this draft cycle. Jalen Carter, defensive lineman from Georgia. He was basically, people said he could have been the number one pick. But now,
Yeah, he was number one in talent. I think it was a pretty consensus before this draft cycle that Jalen Carter was the number one prospect coming out.
yeah, he got into some trouble with the law. Then he had a pro day that apparently went terrible, went wrong. He's out of shape. Could have been from him dealing with all the court stuff, all the off-the-field stuff, but bad pro day happened, and now his agent came out and said that he's not meeting with any teams outside of the top 10 unless they're trading up, which trade-ups usually don't happen till the draft night.
Yeah.
So how would you even know? I need to meet with you before I trade up for you, you know? So what do you think is going on with this guy? Is he getting drafted top 10?
I mean, his stock is dropping like a rock right now. If you look at it, even prior to his run-in with the law, you have these rumblings of, hey, he's a character guy. He's a character guy. And people did shit on, who was it? Who was the draft analyst that everyone shit on? Was it McShay? Todd McShay?
I
think it was McShay.
Yeah, he said that he had a bit of a character issue.
He did. So McShay comes out and says, hey, I'm hearing that Jalen Carter has character issues. That's just something to be worried about. Everyone shit on him. Then all of this stuff happens. He gets arrested at the combine. He gets charged later. Then he doesn't really show out. You know what I mean? In his pro day, can't finish the workouts. Do I think he's going to go in the top 10?
He doesn't show out in the pro day, but then still has the attitude of yeah, you're gonna draft me top 10 anyways. That comes off so arrogant
But it's a veteran agent that he has in Drew Rosenhaus, who came out and actually said publicly, we are not meeting with anyone outside of the top 10. Maybe he obviously he does know what he's doing. If I was him, I wouldn't have done it. If I'm going to be honest, I could very easily see him off of a lot of people's boards. For one, he is off the Raiders board for sure. I want to say one other team in the top 10 has him marked off, but the Chicago Bears have already met with him twice. So maybe that's where he's thinking he's going to go. Maybe he feels pretty for sure about it, but I think it's either the Seahawks or the Bears that are going to end up picking him if it's anybody. And if not, we're going to see a pretty sizable drop, especially because he's not meeting with anyone outside of the top 10. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think I see those stories and I see him have that kind of attitude of well, you're still going to pick me and do that move. And it makes me kind of question him as a person. And I'm like, oh, I kind of hope he falls. And I see people bury him on Twitter, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, he is a top 5, top 3 talent. And it is a little hypocritical. Guys are getting arrested in the NFL all the time, and people are still paying them millions and millions of dollars. So, not to say he didn't do anything wrong. He did mess up. But I think there's going to be teams out there to think that he's just going to drop to the end of the first round because of this. I don't think it's going to. I think teams are too competitive and do not care enough about those criminal offenses or charges and things like that. I think he's going in the top 5.
Where do you think he's going?
I think Seattle at 5 or Cardinals at 3 if they don't move back. I think that those are two teams that really could use him, and could Seattle could say yeah, maybe he has a shady background of personality and everything. There's character questions, but we'll fix him. We have a great attitude here. We have a great setup, and we feel confident in our ability to kind of control that. So I think just NFL teams don't care as much as the fans on Twitter do. I don't see it.
I think, again, the Seahawks are probably the most viable option at number 5. Do I see the Cardinals doing it? No. They have a first-time head coach. They do not have a leader in the locker room. JJ Watt's retired. AJ Green's out of there. Kyler Murray can't get off of Call of Duty. So it's just one of those things. I don't think that they have the culture. The team hates the organization as a whole. It got rated one of the worst. I do not see the Cardinals going for him. I can see the Seahawks. Pete Carroll has done reclamation projects before. Outside of that,
like the talent's too good. Like if he gets to 8 or 9, is you telling me like this guy could have been the number 1 pick if the Bears were like still at the number 1, and he's at 8, and you're gonna say, oh man, like he just has character issues. I can't get the best player in this draft on my team because he's a questionable character. Like I don't think teams are gonna pass that up in the top 10.
The one name I'm gonna throw out there is Reuben Foster. I mean, 49ers fans know what happened with Reuben Foster. He was an elite talent. He goes in. He had a little bit of rumblings. He had that mishap at the combine where he got into it with the nurse, and then it just continued. And you see what ends up happening with guys like this. I'm not saying Jalen Carter is one, but if he does follow the Reuben Foster path, where he just can't shake it, just never know. Like so. How many shitheads can you really fit? Like, you know what I mean? Can you draft that high, give that much status, and give millions and millions of dollars to? I would just be cautious. I know someone is going to take a flyer on it. I just don't know if it is going to be in that top 10. If it's the Bears, do they have a good enough culture to like really like help someone out? I would say no, because they're still trying to find their footing and where they could be, and one bad apple couldn't really ruin the bunch. I would say it would have to be like the Seahawks.
I think, yeah, the Seahawks are a perfect match to me. I think of like, this is a totally different situation, but I think of like Laramie Tunsil on draft night, like video coming out of him like smoking a bong. Like I don't think teams cared too much. It was more of that fan blowback of like the reaction, like, oh man, this guy's supposed to go like top 5, top 10. You got like he's doing this on camera. Like, you guys really gonna draft this guy? And so like I feel like that's more what teams would care about. And I think if you could redo that draft though, like Laramie Tunsil goes top 5. Like no one cared after he was drafted that a bong video came out. And I think that's what teams could look at with this guy. Like, hey, he did his time, whatever. Like, we're going to clean up his stuff. And if he's a great player, like, we're going to be so glad we drafted him in the top 10.
Did you actually see that? Do you ever see that YouTube documentary on the Laramie Tunsil draft and all the college? It was actually like I think it was like his stepdad that ended up releasing that video.
I heard that.
Because he wouldn't pay him. So there was like a whole story behind it, which I think did attribute to the fall in the draft, because then people were finding out like, oh shit, like booster money went to pay this guy. What if something happens in the repercussion? Like, we just can't. So I think that also attributed to his fall in the draft. But yeah, I mean, you look at him, it was just the one incident and you're fine.
Yeah, like
maybe this is going to be just the one instance for Jalen Carter, and the rumblings before were just rumblings and that was it. But he's a kid who gets his shit together, and you end up getting a very good steal out of the draft at number 5. You get the number 1 overall prospect. That's pretty fucking good.
What pick do the Eagles have? The number 10 pick?
I don't know. Here, let me see.
Because I think they have the number 10. He's not going past 10. There's no way the Eagles see this guy who would fit perfectly on their defense. He was teammates with their guy, Jordan Davis. Like, there's no way he gets past 10. I believe they're number 10, right?
They are the number 10.
Yeah, there's no way he goes past 10.
So here's the top. After the top 5, here's what it is. So 5 Seahawks, 6 Detroit, 7 Vegas, but he's off their board. 8 the Falcons, 9 the Bears, 10 the Eagles.
Is he off the Raiders board because they have so many already? They have priors.
I think it is because of if I was them as an organization, I would stay away from questionable, just because 1, your location, 2, you have a history of missing on the first overall or your first round draft picks, and 3, you haven't really proven that you have capable leaders to get people out of those situations besides Darren Waller, who you just shipped off.
They had a lot of guys like in legal trouble before, right? Like these past couple years.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Damon Arnett
definitely would not put him in Vegas right now. I think Philadelphia is the sweet spot. Like number 10, I can't see them passing on him. Like they just lost Javon Hargrave. They lost a bunch of players on defense. He could be a staple in their defense like immediately. Him and Jordan Davis, like that's a great match, and they'd love to play together again.
Oh, we'll see. I think it's going to be Seattle. I think Seattle's going to end up doing it, dude. And I don't blame them.
Do they get blowback for getting him at number 5?
No.
I don't think so.
I'm going to go ahead and
that's what I'm saying. Like, at the end of the day, if you're talented and you're great at what you do on the NFL field, they don't give a shit. Like, they're going to draft him at number 5, and he's going to be amazing for Seattle. And as long as he doesn't get in further trouble, no one's going to care.
As long as this is a one-time incident and, hey, you know what? I wasn't in the right mindset. I've seen a couple of my friends just pass away. Like that's completely understandable. And I think Pete Carroll is the guy to really help, coax that out of Jalen Carter. If that's the case, if not, then you just whiffed on your number 5 overall draft pick.
I mean, they got a lot more picks
but not number 5. You know what I mean?
We'll see.
Especially when you have a chance to get one of the top quarterbacks in this that you really like.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments. Is Jordan Davis? Yeah, I'm stuck on Georgia. He's going to Philly. Is
Jalen
Carter going in the top 10 like he says he is? Is he going to drop? Is he going to have like a historic drop out of the first round? I don't know. Let us know in the comments.